Merry Christmas, everybody. We are going to get started with December Club Q. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and you have the perfect pictures to put into these Christmas kits this year. I love the antique kind of timeless look of the layouts. I love it even more that they're easy to put together to be able to add your photos. We are a little late with the videos for these kits this year. We have had a lot going on here, plus the holidays, so I apologize for it being a little bit late. That's not normally something that we do. We've had lots of surgeries in the family in the last couple weeks, so plus the holidays. So we will be back on track next month, but we'll go ahead and get started with the May Your Days Be Merry kit. Also, thank you for understanding. We are a family business, and when there's lots going down in the family, we kind of stop in our tracks and help where we can. So we're getting back on track here, and we'll get started with this kit, and it is suggesting Amaretto and Bloody Mary Powder Puff Chalking inks, but as always, you use whatever works for you. I also pulled Fields of Green. That one looks really nice with this too if you want to add more green instead of making it the antique kind of look around the edges. Barnboard or Manzanita is also kind of a good brownish red that would work with this. But we are going to get started, and we will start with the cutting diagrams. I like to start with that and get them out of the way. We have one piece that is a photo mat that is already cut out. I'm going to set this aside so I know where to find it. I'll bring in my trimmer, and I always leave my diagram just right here so that I can see as I'm cutting. The two that we will be doing first, well, the papers that you need for a cutting diagram are 2 of the cream scripty papers and 1 red script. So we'll grab those. We'll do the hardest one first that has the most cuts, and that is this one here. We're going to cut that top portion. So what we're going to do is cut it at 5.5 inches right across there, okay? And really, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do it like this so that the script goes across, but if you end up cutting it the other way on accident, it's no big deal because your photos will cover most of this anyway. You won't be able to tell which way the script goes. Okay, so at 5.5, I'm just gonna make a cut all the way across, and then we need 3.5 pieces. So we'll turn it, put it in at 3.5. 3.5, and as always, if I get going too fast, just go ahead and pause it and get caught up with your cutting and inking and chalk anything you want as we go, and just hit pause and then turn it back on when you're ready. So we have 3.5 by 5.5. This piece that's left over, I need to do 5 3/4. So we'll make that cut. And it kind of depends on what side you want to cut off. I'm actually gonna turn it like this so it trims off a little bit of this side because I kind of like leaving this dark around the edges there. So we're gonna put it in at 5 3/4. Trim that off. That's just an extra piece. I know a lot of times we tell you to save all the scraps just in case, but there's not a lot of scraps with this one that we use. So go ahead and get rid of that excess paper. We will turn it and cut it at 3 3/4. 3 3/4, and then one more like that. 3 3/4. And then with that last piece, we're gonna cut it into a square with 3 3/4. So this one's 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then we will cut this one. I'm going to do it this way so it leaves most of that. I like that dark color. At 3 3/4, and then we'll turn it and make it square. Cut it the other way. Okay. Once you have that cut, we are going to grab the second piece of cream and we're going to cut off just a little piece here. So, and it doesn't matter which side you cut it off of because most of this will also be covered. So we want to do just a 3 1/2 inch strip off the right side. So we're putting this one into 8 1/2, like that, and then it'll cut a 3 1/2 inch strip off of this side. Okay, and that's it for that one. The red, we will actually cut the 4x6s here. This one will have extra paper that is usable for something else, so if you want to use it for anything else, you can save that. It'll have an extra 4x6. So let's cut it at 6 inches. Turn it and do 4 inches and 4 inches. You only need 2 of these for this kit, but you'll have an extra 4x6. And the piece that's left over, we are going to cut it all the way across at 3 3/4. So 3 3/4, all the way across. And we turn it and cut it at 5 3/4. Five 3/4. And one more time, 5 3/4. Okay. And our cutting diagrams are done. The only other thing that needs cut out are your little embellishment pieces here and these green printed backers. Those can be cut out, and you have little banners. So go ahead and trim those out if you need to hit pause and do that. But we'll get started on layering these kits together. Find my background paper. Get this out of the way. We should be done with that. And your background papers are these two. Let me make sure it's all in the video. We're going to kind of work on them together. There we go. Get my little pieces out of here. Okay, so since these background papers are exactly the same, and I like to switch it up so that you don't have the same photo on both backgrounds. So what we did was on this side, you have the it's 3 3/4, I think, or 3 1/2. We are going to actually cover up the drummer guy on this side. So that, and then we'll cover this up so that you can't even see it. But just so that you don't have his face showing on both pages, it kind of evens it out just a little bit. And on this side, I actually brought it in just a little bit, maybe 1/4 inch from the left side. But then this will cover up the Santa on this side, and so it kind of gives a nice clean space to work in the middle there. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And this is something that is optional. You don't have to do this, but just know that your little drummer guy is going to be peeking out behind your photos there just a little bit. And it does kind of, if you don't put this down, your photo backers will cover up this as well. This just kind of makes it a nice clean look. And if you want to chalk the edges of these, you go right ahead. Okay, from here, we are going to start layering your photo mats. I'm getting these laid out so we know what goes on where. And remember, one of them on page 1 is one that you cut out from a printed piece. And I cut it so that there's actually a little bit of white showing here, but to fix that, you'll never know. I just take the green and pat it on there, and that white is gone. You'll never know that it was even a thing. Okay, so there's one in the middle here that is a green backer, and there's 2 red. They don't have to be lined out exactly right now. I'm just trying to get things on the page so that we can see where they go. So there should be 2 with that are vertical with the script going this way, and then 2 that are horizontal. And then we will just start layering these up. You only want like the 1/4 of an inch. So if it's fitting so that it looks like it has, you know, that 1/2 inch with that big red thick outline, that means that this one should go over here. Okay. Just getting these all in place, and then I will pick them up and chalk and glue them down. And then you have 2 left for this page. And again, I kind of cut these just a little bit off. So I'm going to chalk the edges so you can't see that white. And spread these out however it works for you. I have mine fairly close on there. You just want to be able to leave room down here for your banner. And there's about 1/4 of an inch at each end here that will show. This needs to go up just a little because we also have our long quote that goes across there too, which I'm not seeing. I know I cut it out. Let's see what I did with it. Oh, here it is. I'm going to chalk the edge of this too because it's kind of white. And you don't have to chalk it much, just to get rid of that white edge so it doesn't just stand out. So I'm just laying things in place. You glue them down as you are ready to. I'm going to do this page because what I want to show you is that the borders on the side here, I'm going to chalk these up first. I think I'll use, what brown do I have? I have amaretto here, so I'm just going to I do a little more in the corners to give it more of that dark antique look. But if you're wanting to use red or green, whichever colors you want to kind of highlight in there. And I think in the middle one, I'm gonna do, I think I have barn board here instead of Bloody Mary. But I'm gonna do a little red around the edges. The barn board looks really nice. It still has a brown, little bit of brown in it. So still kind of looks antique color, but just enough red to add a little extra red in there. And I'll do amaretto again on the bottom one. Okay, so if you get these lined out, they need to be about 7/8 of an inch from the top and the bottom, but you don't have to be exact. So if you want to put them closer together, there's not a lot of wiggle room, but they will be fine if not. What I want to do though is put this right border down first. It goes almost to the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that down, and it kind of gives you a guide of how far over you need to put these. So glue that down first. This Barely Art glue, I love it because I know I say this every time, but it just takes very little to get things to stick in place permanently, and you can use it on little intricate die cuts, that little precision tip. Okay, so almost to the edge. The points are really close to the edge, and just make sure that is straight. And it's about 1/4 of an inch from the top to bottom. Well, 7/8 of an inch. But you just center it so that it's the same top to bottom. Okay, and then once you get that, what I'm gonna do is, this goes right over the edge of it and flush with the top, but don't put glue right here on these corners yet, because you want to be able to slide your other border in so that it fits correctly, okay? So I'm gonna put a little glue just on this side, a little ways over, right up to about 1/2 inch from the side. And this goes flush with the top of your border, and it covers up this little strip here. And what I'm going to do is this other red one, the same, about 1/2 inch from the left edge, and put the bottom one down, flush with the bottom here, and then it shows you how much space you have left for here. And again, don't put it all the way to the edge because we still want to slide in our other border. And then you center this one right in the middle of that. And if it's a little bit off, no biggie, because you have branches that'll come through here, so it's gonna be okay if it's just a little bit off. Okay, so your other border, I'm gonna put a few dots along here, and then I'm gonna slide it right under that edge. Just barely under the edge. You can see now why we didn't put the glue all the way to the edge of the photo mat. Okay. So this is one reason I love this glue, is this is a pretty intricate, kind of delicate die cut. We are going to just put a couple of dots just randomly on here. You don't have to have glue on every single one. This is enough to hold it in place. And if you don't have your photos on your photo mats yet, you make sure that you don't put glue on these little parts here that cover up so that you can still slide your photo in underneath. And I'm just gonna do that one like I don't have photos, and I'm gonna do just a little bit in the middle because then you can slide photos underneath of it. Okay, so you can see that pulls right up and you can put your photo underneath. And page 1 is done. We just have little berries that go on, cranberries that go on the top, like that. And they don't really have to line up any particular way. And then on this side, it's the same. We're just layering your photo mats together, chalk those up. Once you have these glued together, and before you have them glued down to your page, I pick this up and I use a paper piercer just in the corners here so that you can put your brads in. If you want it to go through, you can add your picture and then do the paper piercer with the brads in there. That's up to you. But I would poke 2 holes in the tops of those. And you can see on the picture there's 2 in the top of each photo mat here. Okay, the only other pieces are your little tags, little banner pieces that go on the side here. So place those however it looks best for your pictures. And you glue your journaling piece right over top of it. Okay, so I do need to move this over just a little so it doesn't, so that you have space for your journaling piece. And if you want to, if you haven't glued these down yet, you can use this kind of as a, you can put this on first. You want to be about 1/4 of an inch from the right edge. Then you know how much room you have to work with over here. Your quote and your border gets glued down here. And super simple. I love the die cuts in this one. You have words, die cuts, journaling pieces, gorgeous papers, but very simple to put together, and it looks busy, like you put a ton of work into it because it has lots of different colors and pictures. And I love that it holds quite a few pictures on 2 pages as well. So I hope you have the most beautiful Christmas pictures and you had a wonderful Christmas. And thank you so much for supporting us this year and being a Club Q member. As a small family business, we all appreciate you, and Merry Christmas.